Welcome to the Performance Science Podcast, and I'm your host, Michael Silvestri. Welcome to episode 2 of the Performance Science Podcast. In this episode, we'll be discussing the importance of strength and conditioning for athletic development. Now, it's important to understand what is strength and conditioning. So let's just start with a nice definition of strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning can be defined as an exercise regime designed to improve athletic performance, which uses varying principles and scientific knowledge in order to build the program and build the plan that the athlete will follow in terms of strength and conditioning to better themselves. There's many pillars that are involved with strength and conditioning, which we'll discuss later on in this lecture, in this PowerPoint, in this video series. But the main important thing is anything we do in terms of strength and conditioning is designed to help the athlete in their development and in their performance within sport. I wanted to share two things that I found in two papers that are very important that show why strength and conditioning and how strength and conditioning can be an important aspect of athlete development. So in the first point here, a 10-week strength and conditioning program has been shown to improve swimming start phase and enhancing performance in the first 15 meters. So this is something that's very important and specific to a sport of swimming where strength and conditioning can improve a specific aspect of the sport, but also the overall performance for the athlete. And in the second one, what I wanted to show was how greater muscular strength will allow an individual to produce more force, which increases their overall development and lowers their risk for injury within the sport. And this is something that strength and conditioning can definitely work on and can definitely help the athlete in for sure. Now, those pillars of strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning should have 4 buckets that I personally believe are important to fill. 1, sprinting, 2, jumping, 3, lifting, and 4, sport-specific conditioning. These are the main pillars of what a strength and conditioning program should be built upon. And these are the 4 main aspects in which we should cover or should be covered in any strength and conditioning program. Sprinting, arguably the best thing to develop the nervous system, the most high-intensity activity any athlete will do. Jumping, it's important to understand force development, force absorption, using force to propel ourselves in different directions, and lifting, getting as strong as we can, lifting weights in a proper, safe manner. And then sport-specific conditioning. This is often where many times practitioners will get confused and just provide generic conditioning, but conditioning for the athlete needs to be specific to what the demands of the sport are. This is very important as well. And these are the 4 pillars of strength and conditioning that are very important to follow. Now, strength for sport. How do we translate the strength in the gym to the strength within the sport? This is a very important aspect that needs to be learned. So what am I doing in the gym? And how does this have a translation to my sport? That's always a question that we want to ask, always a question that I'm asking myself when writing programs or asking colleagues when we're writing programs. And then why are we doing what we are doing to improve performance? So how is what we're doing in the gym going to ultimately, or in the field, wherever we're working with the athlete, ultimately going to be something that's going to help drive their performance within their sport? These are the 2 main questions that need to be always answered, and we need to always justify the why and the how. When we talk about conditioning, we need to understand the energy systems that's at use within the given sport, and then how the athlete and the practitioner will work backwards from that energy system at use to mimic the demands of the sport within the gym. So if we take a sport like soccer, a lot of times it's long, slow duration, a lot of jogging, but also there is very quick sprints with long rest time. So something like that we need to mimic in the gym when we're doing conditioning. So I'm not going to have my soccer athlete performing shuttle runs continuously for 10 minutes. What I would have them do is quick bursts of speed with a sprint. Then we would take maybe a 2-minute rest, whatever our work to rest ratio is. These are just examples, so they can be altered whichever way we need. But it's important to understand that when we're working with the athlete, the conditioning needs to mimic what the sport demands of them. Now, when we talk about having a strength and conditioning coach on staff and why this is important, I think there's 3 main reasons why this is important. A strength and conditioning coach is educated, qualified, and professional. Educated in terms of knowing, or should be educated in terms of knowing what the athlete needs in a given situation, qualified to be able to teach the athlete, and professional in how they carry themselves. Strength and conditioning coaches carry a specific understanding of the demands of the sport and understand the necessary skills needed within the sport. Now, don't let this take away from a technical coach who can teach you very good skills, but the strength and conditioning coach is what's going to help you excel in those skills in the field. And a strength and conditioning coach needs to work closely with a sport coach or a technical coach to properly develop athletes within the landscape of what their sport requires. So this is very important, where when I'm working with a coach, I need to know what they're doing as well as what I'm doing, and how can we work in unison to help the athlete. So these are the three main points of why I think it's important for a strength and conditioning coach to be involved in any sort of athletic development or any athlete development program that's made. And most importantly, that unison between the sport coach, the strength and conditioning coach, the technical coach, the rehabilitation team, the sports science team. We all need to be working in unison with the main goal of helping the athletes, and not be working counteractive to one another and doing things one that's going to hinder the other. These are the most important aspects, and this is why strength and conditioning is very important for athlete development, sport performance, and needs to take a greater role in terms of developing athletes and sport performance. Now, these are my thoughts on strength and conditioning. Obviously, everyone will have different thoughts, but I hope this mini video was intuitive. You were allowed to learn something, learn from my perspective, and learn what I believe is important. But also, I hope you take away something from this. So if there's anything you take away from this, the importance of why strength and conditioning coach is important. Now we can go back to all those pillars of strength and conditioning: sprinting, jumping, lifting, sport-specific conditioning. These are things that sport coaches cannot do, not because they don't know, but because that's not their role. The strength and conditioning coach has a specific role within the sporting landscape and the athlete development in which they need to fulfill these roles. This is why I truly believe strength and conditioning is important and needs to be built into any athlete development program. And I thank you for listening to the podcast, this mini episode. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. You can head to my website, comment on the video, ask any questions. I look forward to hearing back from you, and we'll be back soon with another episode. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.